No
everyone,
problem.
welcome back to my channel. I am here with Mutah, as you guys know, from formerly from the Outlawz group, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so
Napoleon from the Outlaws.
Napoleon from the Outlawz, correct. Okay,
Yes.
so the first question I wanted to ask you is what got you into music and into writing and into the group you were in general?
You know, I was basically born and raised in Newark, in Irvington, New Jersey, which is the suburbs. Irvington is like the suburbs of or small town of Newark. I grew up in a very like we can say violent environment, dangerous environment. You know, at a very young age, I seen everything from people getting murdered, from my family members, all of my friends going in and out of jail, selling drugs, and I even tried to follow their footsteps. When I was about 12, 13 years old, I tried to sell drugs and I got arrested. And I said to myself, this is not the life that I want for myself because I suck at it. The first day I went on the block, I got arrested. So I said, you know what I mean? I wanted to do something that was different than what everyone else in my neighborhood was doing at that particular time. And so I used to come home from school and I would write whatever I would see in my neighborhood, whatever I would see, like the drug dealers, whether it was my brothers, my cousins, my relatives, and I would make songs out of it. And then I would go back outside of my neighborhood in my streets and I would rap it for the drug dealers and they would pay me for it. You know what I mean? So writing, so writing became an outlet for me from a lot of things that I was going through, uh, especially in the inner cities, in the African American or the Black community. We don't really know how to address issues when it comes to like mental health issues, when it comes to depression. We don't know how to address these issues. So for me at that particular time, writing poetry every single day was an outlet for me, whatever I was feeling inside. You know what I mean? I had a lot of anger
Yeah.
in me at that particular time. So that's how I started writing.
Wow. Yeah. And especially like back then when you started writing, like comparing the music scene then, what's like the main difference with music and rap back when you started writing to like right now, if you know more about like how rap is now in its
Yes.
current state?
I pretty much I keep up with what's going on. I don't listen to music anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I stopped listening to music, but I kind of know what's happening. I'm still aware of what's going on. I'm not that out of touch. You know what I mean? Where you know what I mean? I know artists. I know young artists. Some of them even follow me on Instagram. Some of them I'm in touch with. I say that it definitely made a drastic um, switch and change from what we was going from what we from what it seemed like. Now the culture of rap music is a drug culture.
yeah.
It feel like everyone pushing, popping pills, mollies,
Mhm.
syrup. When I was in the music industry, we looked down on that type of lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like we look down at it. We consider people junkies, but now I guess being a junkie is the cool thing in the
It's
music
yeah.
industry.
Yeah, it's really
you know?
like for me person, especially being a woman and looking at the lyrics and everything about rap and like the current state, it's very as you said, druggy. They talk about pills, they talk about women and this and that, like in a bad way, and it's not, we're really missing like the lyrical and the like the storytelling part of it, like the realness, instead of like this trend everyone's hopping on. um
Yes.
but do you write poetry still, or are you?
I still write poetry. Every once in a while, I take my pen and paper out and I write. You know what I mean? I actually did a poem. I shot like a video for it. It's fun for me. You know what I mean? I put it on my YouTube channel, so you guys can go
Oh,
check it out. I have
perfect.
a YouTube channel, so you guys. I think yeah, my channel is damn Mutah Bill TV.
Okay, I'll put that in
Forgot
the
it.
description 100%.
Definitely
um
appreciate that.
you converted to Islam, correct?
Yes, yes, yes,
If this is a okay question, what was your religion
yes.
before that?
My life was um unique because my mother and father converted to Islam.
Oh
You
wow.
know, my father's African American, my mother was from Puerto Rico, and both of them converted to Islam before I was born. When I was 3 years old, my mother and father got murdered in front of me, and the people who killed them was actually a friend of my father's who was claiming to be a Muslim. So my grandmother, who adopted me after the murders of my mother and father, they used to tell me that Islam is a bad religion. Muslims killed your parents. So I grew up having, out of my ignorance, a bad understanding of the religion of Islam or Muslim people. So I grew up hating Islam, hating Muslims. I didn't want to be around them. And I grew up, you could say, as a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 95%, 98% of my family are Christians. We have a few Muslims. I have an uncle that are Muslim, auntie that are Muslim. My brothers are now Muslims. I have cousins that are Muslim, but majority of my family are all Christians, you know? So
Yeah.
when I went through the music industry, I went through years of what you can say, Isaac and Isaac, you know, your cousin father, he was in my corner when I was going through these different times where I was searching. You know, I became successful. So what successful where I lived the life in the gated community, all $1 million homes around me.
Yeah.
Every time a car would come out, a brand new car, I would get it. I had the lifestyle, but I didn't have any happiness. So I started to want to know how come that I have a life that, you know, most people perceive as the American dream. But every night that I was going to sleep, I was depressed. I was unhappy. And I started searching, you know what I mean? I started searching, and that's what led me to the religion of Islam. And it happened in a way where, you know, I was intoxicated in the studio one day. I was very heavily intoxicated off of alcohol. I got into a fight with my little brother, and the person who stopped the fight was American Muslim. He
Oh.
invited me to the masjid. Eventually, when I was able to go into the masjid, you know, I seen something for myself. I seen people from African Americans, Arabs, Asians, white, and I wanted to learn more about it. And then that's when I became Muslim. I converted 18 years ago.
Oh wow. That's amazing because like as you said, the especially being here in America, a lot of people's perception of like being Muslim and like the community in Islam, a lot of people are not as educated about it. They think very bad things, as in like, oh, you guys are,
Yeah.
because I'm Muslim as well. They think, oh, you guys are terrorists. You're
Yeah.
Arab. You're this. You're that. Blah blah blah. It's really crazy to try to explain to people and have them understand. But once people actually are educated on it, then they know.
Once they understand and once they're educated, they respect it. And you can't
Exactly.
really blame them. The media shows Islam in a bad light. We have to show the people that Islam is actually truly a peaceful religion. You
It
know,
is, yeah. So now that I know more about how you started writing and what really like got you into it, how did you meet Tupac?
I met Pac from I had a childhood friend by the name of Yafeyo. He later became Gaddafi from the Outlawz.
Oh,
His
okay.
mother and my family, and his mother and my family were we was close. Gaddafi was considered the him and Tupac called each other brothers, even though they had different parents, but they just grew up with each other, calling each other brothers from a very young age. And I lost contact with him, and I got back into contact with his mother. At this particular time, I was already writing poetry and rap. So when I ran into his mother, and she asked me what I've been up to, I said, you know, I'm writing raps and I want to be a rapper. She said, my son Yafeyo is also doing the same thing. And she said, matter of fact, his brother is Tupac Shakur. At this particular time, Pac already put out a record. I knew Pac because I think he already had one album out. He was a rising star at that particular time, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
she pretty much said, well, if you're serious, you know, Tupac is coming to New York City with my son. You should go over there and try to make it happen. I hopped on a train, which is about 30 minutes from Newark, New Jersey to Manhattan. And ever since that day, I've been connected. You know what I mean? I would say
Yeah.
that was 1993.
Oh, okay. Wow. So,
Yes.
cause a little fun fact, I started taking one of my brother's friends, his mom. Her name is Tanea Sanders. She went by the name Ubi back then. She's an R&B singer. She actually
Okay.
she was signed to Death Row Records. She worked with
Wow.
yeah, she worked with Lil Jon on some of their tracks, like doing the choruses. And
Yes.
she told me she met Pac once, and it was very like he was super kind. First of all, he was very like adamant on what to do like on set and like working wise. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
what was the work ethic with between you guys and in the group like in general?
You know, the work ethics of Pac, I don't think hip hop have seen something before that or after that. You know, when we was around Pac, the Outlaws, we thought it was normal to do 4 or 5 songs a day. I didn't realize until later when I'm looking at interviews from people like Snoop Dogg and people like Dr. Dre, people around Death Row. and they was all amazed like how Pac would do 3 or 4 songs a day. And this, you haven't seen an artist that worked as hard as him after. You know what I mean? I remember
Mm-hmm.
after Tupac died, myself and the Outlawz, we signed a record label. We signed a record deal with a record label called Rap A Lot Records. This record label is from the South. They had people like Scarface, the Ghetto Boys, Jay Prince. He's the one who also the founder. He the one that who I think he founded Drake. You know, he's the
Oh,
son.
yeah.
He's the son of Prince, which Jay Prince, who's they call him like the Prince of the South. You know, so we signed a record deal with him, and I remember he said like, "Man, I never seen any artist work the way you guys work," and we got that work ethics from Tupac, and we thought it was normal because that's how he taught us. That's how he taught us how to work. The way Pac would work, for example, he would hear a beat, he would write a rap. He would say, "Which one of you guys got a verse?" Whoever don't have a verse by the time he finished his second verse, we don't get on the song. Period.
Oh my god.
And that's how he worked. And then he would be angry. He would say, "You dudes are slow. I can't believe you guys are not like working hard." And we be thinking this, we falling short, and we realize that he just was a different breed of dude. You know what I mean? When he had with his work ethics.
Yeah. Speaking on like you guys coming up with verses and stuff, I mean, because
Yes.
now that we have, there's like a lot, it's easier to get access to like computer and go on like finding rhymes and stuff. Because when I started writing poetry at first, kind of like my emotions
Yes.
and my feelings. When I couldn't really get it out there to anyone, I would just write it. And like that's what rap for me, that was the outlet, and kind of like wanting to
Yes.
inspire people and make a change and actually like do something with it. But sometimes
Yes.
I get caught and I can't come up with right phrases, like metaphors, so I go online, I type in like rhymes or whatever. When
Yeah.
you guys were writing, what if you guys couldn't come up with a rhyme, what was the easiest way, like how would you guys find more rhymes?
We basically you know, the way we work is basically the beat used to bring the emotions out of us. You know what I mean? Depending on the beat, or sometimes, you know, Pac was a whatever his last word was. Like we never really planned the song. We won't go in the studio and say we're going to do a song called "Hit 'Em Up," for example, today, which is a bad song. I shouldn't even use that as an example, but we never pick a title first. How it works is that Pac would go, he would write whatever his last word was. He would say, "This is the name of the song." This is he was very just he was like that. So he would have a song, whatever the last word is, he would come up with the hook, and then he would look at us and say, "This is the name of the song," and we would just have to come up with a rap, a verse going down that same direction that he led. You know what I mean? So it was very awkward back then. You know what I mean? It's very awkward and it's very unorthodox. Like some of
Yeah.
the stuff he would do, it would sound like it's not going to work, and then when I hear it later, I'll be like, "This guy's a genius." Because when I heard this song, I was like, I don't understand which direction it's gonna go, and it ended up selling millions of records.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it
Um,
wasn't planned. You know,
yeah, and then was that the same with when you guys went on tours? Like was that the same kind of uh
you know what? Back then, you know, people, you know, you wasn't even living at that particular time, so you
no.
wouldn't know. Like in the early '90s, the early to the mid '90s, um, tours, especially in the USA, were canceled because there was so much killing at rap concerts that no sponsors, no one wanted to take that chance. So when Tupac signed to Death Row and we moved to Los Angeles, I remember some organizations, some tour managers, tour groups, they decided to try to put a tour together with all Death Row artists, me, Pac, the Outlawz, Gonzo. It was a group called Caution. It was Ice Cube group, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Thug Life, and we went to maybe we was going to do a tour around the whole country, and I believe we only did about 3 or 4 states or 3 or 4 cities before some more people got killed, and they had to stop the tour. So back then, it wasn't like it was now, where rappers are touring all over the world. They
Yeah.
going through tours all over America. Now they was able to fix it, but when we was doing, it was too dangerous. You know, nobody
Yeah.
wanted to take that chance.
Um, actually did not know that, so thank you for telling me.
You
Um,
were.
like, what was the one thing that kept you going and inspired, just like with music and with your life, like in general?
You know, the one thing that because music was my outlet back then. You know, I had a troubled life. You know, I had growing up, my life was troubled. You know, even though I had good grandparents, they tried their best to raise me and my brothers and cousins to the best of their ability. So music was that outlet. You know, I didn't know, you know, especially, you know, thank God things are changing. But in the black community, we didn't have an outlet. I couldn't go to my grandparents or a relative and say, I'm feeling down today. Because back then you was looked as a weak individual. So I couldn't tell my feelings to my friends. I couldn't tell my feelings to no one. So the pen and the paper was my only way to relieve what was inside of me. You know what I mean? So to some degree, I would say that music at that particular time of my life was therapy for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was a way for me to get out of what was on my chest. And that was the only way I can speak about what I was going through. So it was therapy for me.
I'm sure that inspired you, like once you converted and like have had this new lifestyle.
Yeah.
Who in particular introduced you to where you are now, like Saudi Arabia and like the people you're friends with there?
Well, you know, when I became Muslim in 2002 and I was able to go to Hajj a few months later. And when I came to Saudi Arabia, I just fell in love with the culture. I just fell in love with the environment because it was so peaceful, despite what the media say. Now, finally, Saudi Arabia is opening up. They have a tourism visa. They had, like, for example, the world heavyweight champion fight here a year ago.
Oh
And
yeah.
I met people from America, from everywhere. And everyone was like, we would have never believed this country was like this because the media had us afraid to come here, you know. But when they came here, they was like, oh my God. Even we had people from what is this lady name? She's from I think Dallas, Texas, and she worked in the boxing world, and she was like, I would have never. They thought she said she thought that when she landed, she would be treated badly because she a woman because this is what the media portray of this region. She said they treated her so good, she was surprised. You know, so
Yeah.
that's what happened to me when I came to Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia doesn't have a media outlet to really display what goes on in their country. Whatever somebody say about Saudi Arabia, it hits the news, and Saudi Arabia never refutes it. You know, so when I came here, it was just such a peaceful environment, very safe. You know what I mean? And I said that this is the place I want to raise my kids
Yeah.
because I didn't, I wanted something different for them, and I've been here for 10 years now.
Wow. Yeah, definitely the culture and the environment there is so much more safer than compared to
Yes.
here. Kind of back to the music, who were your favorite artists at the time that like you loved?
At the time, my favorite artist was Ice Cube, Tupac, um, Outkast. I remember Big Pun. A lot of see, you probably don't know about these names.
I know
uh,
Outkast, Big Pun, but Ice
yes,
Cube, yeah, but I've like heard like the pop tunes.
Scarface. Yeah,
Scarface, yeah.
Scarface. Yeah, he was my number one. You know, he's also Muslim. Scarface. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I that's exactly what when I was looking into him. That's
Yes,
one thing I
yes,
noticed with rappers in particular and with their like big names, like they convert
yes.
and become Muslim
A lot of
and
them converge. Yeah, a lot of them
yeah.
converge. Some of them don't speak about it, but there's another artist. I don't know. I don't know. Have you heard of somebody named Shy Glizzy or something like that?
No.
My son knows about him. He's I guess a new artist. I might be even saying his name wrong, but he's also a
Yeah.
Muslim, and I've been talking to him recently on Instagram. And you have a lot of people that once they know about the religion, and if they want the truth, they accept it. But these were my favorite rappers back in the day. These are legendary.
Mhm.
You know,
And so when I was doing research about like the types of rap, like obviously the big thing was gangster rap. Is that the main thing that you guys like incorporated in your music? Um, that you guys like preached? Like, were you guys like actually doing what was exactly in the music?
you know, um, no artist will actually doing everything they say in their music. You know what I mean? Um, I can say that, and I have people that can vouch. Most of the things that I wasn't running around killing nobody, of course, and I don't think nobody was running around killing nobody. We all would be in jail. But I came from an environment where I used to hang out on the corner. I used to sell drugs. I've been involved with a lot of violence, so I was able to put that in my music in a way. But one of the things we was really trying to do in our music is trying to we wasn't trying to really glorify it. We was the media outlets of what's happening in the city, because no one really knew our plea. No one really knew what we was going through. So we was using our voice to show the rest of the world, look, America pretty much neglected us at that particular time. In that black community, we felt neglected. Nobody else knew about what we was going through. So music was an outlet. It was our media outlet to let the world know what we was going through. And it brought a lot of changes. You know what I mean? It would let someone know all the way in Abu Dhabi or in Africa or Asia or Europe know what we're going through in our neighborhood. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we pretty much was the media of the inner
Mm-hmm.
cities.
Yeah, and one thing I liked about Pac songs and the Outlaws in general, like you guys brought awareness about what was going on with police brutality, what poverty and like everything in the black communities. And it's crazy because all of that hasn't gone away, but now in America specifically, with the
Yeah.
presidential elections and a lot of the brutality that's still going on, everything
Yes.
that was said then still applies to today. And
Unfortunately.
yeah, and it's just crazy to me to see like how legendary the music is, and how like how long it can, like it's infinite
Yes,
basically.
definitely, definitely, and that's what we was trying to do. And unfortunately, it haven't changed. You know what I mean? It
Mm-hmm.
haven't changed. I can honestly say some things got better in America. You know what I mean? But police brutality isn't one of them. You know, the brutality from the police and the oppression, that haven't changed, unfortunately. You
Yeah,
know?
and it's really scary, especially in this day and age. Um,
Yes.
so for I kn- I'm not sure if this is 100% correct, but were you guys, or Tupac, were you guys going into like the the gospel side? Like was there any other genre that you guys were going to explore? Because I know I have heard Ghetto Gospel, the album, and everything, but was there like
Yes.
a different type of genre you guys were going to go into?
We didn't have anything planned like that. You know what I mean? Ain't no telling. Pac was evolving. You know, musically, mentally. He was evolving. You know, he was hanging around people like Alanis Morissette. She was like this rock and roll type of woman back in the day. Like he used to listen to these type of songs that he was evolving in that direction, but we didn't really have a plan where we would go in gospel and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And the phrase ghetto gospel was pretty much like this is what we go through. Not much as we, as from a standpoint of view of church or spirituality, but we were just saying this is our plea. This is what we are going through. You know what I mean? I think Pac himself, he wanted to get into politics. Believe it or not, he
Yeah,
mentioned that.
in the
You know what
interviews.
I
I've watched like, yeah, I've watched a lot of his a lot of the interviews, and the most recent one I saw was the the 1993, I think, or the
mean?
95 expo, where
Yes,
he was talking and preaching about like everything, and I believe he was 24 at the time, or 25
he was
being.
very yeah. He was young. He died at 25 years old. He died at 25. Yeah.
Yeah, and to see someone that young, and for like you guys to be that young and to talk about these issues and go into politics and trying to make a change and making a change is like it's crazy to me, because that's like, yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you, thank you.
Speaking about the politics, were you heavy into politics as well?
Not really. You know what I mean? Not really at that particular time. We just knew that you couldn't have what people so called say or call gangster rap. The element of rap that we was involved in, it was probably intertwined with politics because, especially Pac, he probably was the first besides NWA. He was one of the few that presidents and vice presidents was trying to ban his music. So we had to be aware of politics from that standpoint of view, that we know that we have politicians looking at us, but from a standpoint of view of how can we get rid of this music. I think his name was Dan Quayle or something like that, the vice president back in the day. I forget he might have been a vice president of Reagan, Dan Quayle, if I'm not mistaken. He wanted to ban Tupac music. You know, he did a whole interview and said we need to ban this music. And then you had Maxine, another lady. She was an African American politician, and she was also going on the same rant that we need to get rid of this music. We need to ban this music. And we cannot sit here and say that the music was pretty much innocent. You know, we have a lot of errors and shortcomings in the music we was putting out regarding, you know, disrespecting a woman. A lot of stuff that we was talking in our music that wasn't 100%. You know, now that I'm 43 years old, so now looking back at it, I wouldn't want my kids to be listening to that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So we wasn't 100% innocent ourselves, but this is America. You know what I mean? Our lyrics was a reflection of what America is. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And what a crazy thing that I noticed is an interview I saw with Tupac was with the
Yes.
cops. They were like asking him line by line like lyrics in his song, and they were like,
Yes.
and he was talking about crooked cops, and they were trying to use that against him. And I just think that's crazy
Yeah.
because if you look at
Yeah.
nowadays, people are saying like worse than that and crazy things, and
Yeah.
back then they were targeting and trying to stop him and you guys in general
They
with the
was
music.
definitely trying to, because a lot of people don't know. Like, there was a guy who, you know, at that particular interview, Tupac was actually locked up in prison. They brought him out of prison to do this hearing. Um, there was in Texas, a guy got pulled over by the police or by a sheriff, and he shot and killed the sheriff while playing Tupac music. So they was basically saying that the lyrics of Tupac is what motivated this guy to kill that police officer. So they was trying to bring charges to Tupac and say, like you mentioned, they was trying to be slick and say that, didn't you say this about cops? And he said, no, I said crooked cops. You know what I mean? So he
Yeah.
was clarifying himself that he never went and told people to do brutality or violence against the police. You know, but they was trying to bring some charges up against him, but they threw it out of the court. They had to realize that he was innocent from the actions of this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like talking about people that were like against you guys, were there like being in that environment and like you guys, you know, the high life and like being celebrities and this environment you're around, were there a lot of fake I mean, I know there were a lot of fake people and fake friends, but um
Yes.
how did you how did you find out that oh, these people around me are not all like what I think they are? Like they're not really my friends.
Unfortunately, the music industry is pretty much surrounded by greed. So you will find out in that industry. And unfortunately, it's like that in life in general. Maybe when you have normal friends and you have a normal job, and maybe it takes some time before you will see the exposure of your friend being who they claim they're not, and things who they claim they are, but the opposite, being a fake friend. In the music industry, unfortunately, majority of the whole environment around you is based on greed. People turn on each other because of money. You know, you see people that was together for 20 years, 15 years, and come together in the music industry, and all of a sudden they break up and they dissing each other. They had diss strikes against each other. You have so many groups that broke up because the people pin them against each other, because the whole environment is based on greed, and it's a corrupt industry. You know, the whole environment is corrupt. You know, and at the bottom line, it's about money. If you're not bringing in the money, you mean nothing to these people. Even though they might smile in your face for the first 10 years, they would
Yeah.
tell you they love you, they invite you to their homes. And as soon as you're not selling records, you will see another face of these individuals. So we had to learn the hard way many times.
And knowing that, what would you say to other inspiring artists, rappers, singers who like younger people that want to get into this industry and don't want to fall down the path of drugs and addiction and yeah, all that stuff.
I would tell you from example, I have a son, right, 21. I don't listen to music anymore because of what I believe, my religion
Yeah.
beliefs, you know what I mean? I have a 21-year-old son. He wants to be a rap artist. He tried to keep it away from me from years, and I had a discussion with him. Of course, he raised in America. Now he's 21 years old. You know what I mean? He's going to make his own decision as a young man, and I can only advise him according to what I think is fit for him. But he has to make the choices. It's his life. So when he asked me one day, he was like, Dad, why you don't support me in the music? I said, it's not personally against you. I said, let's leave religion out of it. Because I told him many times what Islam say about these things. I said, let's leave religion out of it. I said, I come from the music industry. I lost friends in the music industry. Gaddafi, Tupac, I lost many people that got murdered from the music industry. I said, the music industry right now is a drug culture. You know what I mean? It's a drug culture. It's rare that you will see or hear someone with positive music being pushed and backed by the industry, because just the way, the same as negative news get views, the same with music. I put up a post yesterday of a white guy. He was breaking down the music industry about black murder. And he was saying how he went to radio stations and he said, if I bring you songs that's talking about killing of animals, would you put it on this station? He said, no. If I bring you songs talking about this, they said, no. He said, but if I bring you songs talking about black people killing each other, would you play it? They said, it all depends. So they glorify murder. They glorify violence and drugs to the point that how many young rappers died because they was overdosed on drugs. The culture, even when a person wants to get in the music industry and they say, well, I'm not going to go that route, it's difficult because the environment is based on this type of, what you can say, lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for someone, especially a young person who, their personalities can easily be persuaded in some way to say, because they want to fit in, you know what I mean? And they want to sell records. So most people that get into the music industry is because they want to be successful. And being successful in the music industry is being known and selling records or getting downloads. And if you go in there saying, but I'm going to be different, and the art and the industry tell you, no, we need you to do more music glorifying drugs. We need you to be that image. Most people will not say no. They're going to go towards what lifestyle the music industry is pushing them. So I explained this to my son, and he's like, but I can do this. I said, it's very difficult. Trust me, I've been there and done that. Sometimes they think because we're older. And I used to feel the same way when I was young, and an older person come to me and say they've been there and done that. I used to think they're just talking. But in reality, most of the time they've been there and done that. So when you hear your parents say, I've been there and done that, or they know what they're talking about in certain situations, most likely they definitely know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? They have that experience, definitely.
Yeah, and that's exactly what my mom tells me, because she supports me for because I write, I make music, I put some stuff out there, but she's very heavy. She wants me to always, and I agree with her, be on the right path and don't fall for anything.
Definitely.
Especially education is a huge thing, and to be able to have the privilege and support. Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
have a good mother. You have a good
thank
mom.
you. Yeah. So that's education first, and then pursue side hobbies and
That's the
like
most
what.
important. That's the most important, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so I asked you a lot of questions. Thank you for answering, and talking with me. Um,
You well.
Thank you. Is there any last thing that you want to mention or discuss?
Just the kids be safe out there. You know what I mean? Listen to the old heads that they call us old heads now. We've been there and done that. And you know what I mean? Education is very important. I see more people go further than the career in the music industry with the correct education. You know what I mean? Don't waste your time trying to follow a path that can go left or right. Education, you can be your own boss, you can move forward, and continue after the music career is over. Most people have nothing to fall back on. You know what I mean? So don't be one of those.
Definitely. And
Definitely.
one last question, because of what you explained with the lifestyle and how peaceful it is there. What would, and
Yes.
I can take this advice too. What is there a form of how do you meditate, or how do you get yourself in that peaceful mindset and not fall into the trap of like always being upset or depressed or worrying about your life in the future? Like, how do you?
I think for me, when I started praying the prayers, which is 5 times a day, I remember when I first became Muslim and somebody said Muslims pray 5 times a day. I thought he was crazy. I said, there's no way I'm praying 5 times a day. You know, after a while, it took some time. A prayer, for example, can be 5 minutes. I had to learn it. After I learned it, even when I was praying, I hold the book in my hand and I read it. And I realized it brought me happiness and peace, you know, because once you have that direct connection with God, you realize that even in life, you don't really stress because everything is written, everything comes from Him. and it makes it easy for you to accept it. You know, in Arabic, I'm sure your father inside the family can tell you this. It's called tawakkul, reliance. So when you have a reliance on God, it really take away 90% of your worries. You know what I mean? Because you know that, of course, we still got to get up and we have to put the action and the work in, but knowing that God has your back, it's really nothing to worry about. You know, so I live my
Exactly.
life like that, where I really try not to stress. I always say to myself, everything will work out. You know, just keep your direct connection with God. So the best meditation is prayer.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Um, all right. Thank you so much for
You're
doing
most
this with
welcome.
me. I'll put all the links below. Hopefully, one
Yeah.
day in the future, the right word is inshallah. I could come to
Inshallah.
Saudi Arabia, check out your coffee shop. Hopefully, if you
You
come
have
to
to.
LA, yeah, if you make
De-
one in LA, definitely.
Definitely. You should come visit for sure. You will enjoy Saudi Arabia.
Yes, for sure.
All right.
Okay,
Thank
Mutah,
you.
thank you so much. I'm gonna end this, and yeah.